Hey everyone, Kev Muldoon here. What I'd like to do in this video is show you OxygenOS. This is the customized version of Android that is used by OnePlus. This is the OnePlus 5. It is the first OnePlus phone that I've ever purchased, and in fact the first OnePlus phone I've ever actively used. Now, consider this a first impressions of OxygenOS. This isn't a tips and tricks video. It's not a complete guide. The comments that you're going to hear from me are coming from someone who's only owned the phone for a few days. So it's kind of like a novice's overview of what OxygenOS is like. First thing I would say is that despite only owning it for like 4 or 5 days, up here you'll see there's an update. There's been about 3, I think this is the 3rd update already. So firstly, I would say that is very, very good, because with most phone operators, you know, they don't update the firmware that often. It happened in the past with lots of companies like Sony and Samsung. You know, within a year, they just drop support for the phone and you don't see it being updated anymore, so you don't get the latest version of Android and all that. It looks like they are always updating this, and, you know, from what I've read on comments in the community, some people say that the support from OnePlus isn't amazing, things like that, because you can't walk into a shop and get a refund or anything like that. You have to send it back to them. But from what I've seen so far from a software point of view, it does seem that they're on the ball and they are updating everything on a regular basis. I mean, perhaps it's because OnePlus 5 is just out. They're maybe tweaking a lot of bugs, but to see 3 or 4 updates within, well, less than a week is pretty impressive. So, looks like the new update has been installed. Now, I mentioned this when I first did the unboxing, but one of the first things I noticed was that there isn't a lot of bloatware. It's as close to a stock experience as you can expect. The only thing are the apps that weren't part of Android were this one, Community, which I believe I can remove. Yep. So you can remove that if you want. That's just a link to their forum. And there was a weather app, which I believe I can remove as well. Okay, so that's pretty awesome. That is literally the only 2 apps that came with the phone that weren't part of Android. And as you've just seen, I was able to remove them. Now that is in contrast to my HTC U11, in which this isn't too bad, but there's a few things that I'm trying to think of an example here. There's a few things from HTC, maybe 2 or 3 apps, and you can't remove them. I think one's that Zoe editor, if I can find that. Where is it? This Zoe video editor. Now, I don't want that. When I go to uninstall, all it says is it'll be replaced with the factory version. So you can't actually remove the app. What you need to do is go into the settings area and disable it. So that is a big win for the OnePlus 5, and I'm sure it's the same in other OnePlus phones. So I think that's a good thing for OxygenOS. They're not trying to force apps, you know, on you. They're not trying to shove out anything down your throat. It's quite good in that respect. So the skin is very light. You know, there's a lot of skins of Android, and it's really kind of overbearing. They add clocks and widgets everywhere and that, but it's quite minimal. And this one here, the never settle thing, it shows you like the apps and things like that, contacts. You can, if you want, remove it. It's not a problem. In fact, it's the settings area, I believe. Yeah, so the swipe right from home screen to access shelf, you can disable that, and look, it's gone. So there's nothing there that can't be removed. It's quite cool. There's a few different icon packs as well. Not much variation on them, to be honest. And there's a few other options. Swipe down, app shortcuts, etc. Widgets, wallpapers, that's all par for the course for an Android phone. When you pull down the notifications, there's a lot of different options here. You've got hotspot, NFC, reading mode, gaming, do not disturb, cast, data saver, VPN, invert colors, open camera. So they've got, that's kind of like the apps that you use a lot by the looks of it. Or open camera is an app that I've added, so you know the fact that you can add a shortcut to that, that's pretty cool as well. So you can customize your notification tray. Now, in the settings area is really where you see this come into its own. Now, here's the thing. See, when you're going around this area in the settings area, you sometimes forget what is stock Android and what is part of OxygenOS, because it's not like there's like a little symbol saying this is a custom feature. One thing is you can access the settings from the side. It's quite cool. And there's lots of little customization options just integrated into the Android operating system. Obviously, some of them will be custom to the phone itself, the alert slider. And you can control what happens when there's a vibration, you know, what happens in each of those modes. Different buttons. There's a lot of options here. Press the power button twice for the camera, on-screen navigation. There's lots of other things. You can double tap to load different things. Long press. So you can hold the back button, or long press or short press to do different things. So that's pretty cool. Now the gestures thing is pretty cool as well. The one I liked is that you can, where are gestures? You can 3-finger screenshot. So that's cool. I like that. I can understand why they've added it as well, but normally what you do is you hold the power and then it's like volume up or volume down. But perhaps they've did this because they're in the volume rocker and the power button's on the other side of the phone. So perhaps that's why they did it. I'm not sure. There's lots of other gestures there as well. You can draw an O, draw a V, and then this can load up a video, an app. There's a lot of customization. I think it's pretty cool. It's the sort of thing that, you know, when you first get a phone, you probably won't use it. And then after a while, you go, oh, I use that app a lot. You could draw a 0, draw a V, and it will load up your app, or it will load the camera, it will take a photo, that kind of thing. I really like that. It's clear that this isn't the first iteration of OxygenOS. It's obviously been refined over the last few years from feedback from users. And it's, you know, I'm jumping in at the OnePlus 5, so obviously it's not the first iteration. A lot of these options are just for Android, and this is the thing, it is hard to tell. I found myself going back to my HTC U11 to find out whether it was on that phone as well, to determine, is this something that's an OxygenOS or is it not? Now, for one example, this was another feature that I really liked. There's an app locker. So you can encrypt certain apps. It's got an app locker. Now, you can download an app locker from the Google Play Store. You can lock apps using an app, but this is built directly into the phone. So I've not actually used this yet, so let's try it. Let's say we're going to lock Chrome. So in theory, there we go. So I need a fingerprint or, all right. So do I do that? Right, it seems to be loading up every time now. Surely if I close the app, it will have, no. So I would have assumed if you opened an app and then closed it like that, or, you know, clear them all, I would assume that you'd have to unlock it again, but it's not doing that. So maybe it's not as amazing as I thought, but I do like that feature. I think it's cool that they've added that feature in. I'm not sure if there's perhaps a timer on that. Maybe after, you know, a certain length of time, the app locks again. But what I would want from an app locker is that if I lock my phone, maybe that does it. Yeah, that's what it does. So lock my phone, open it up. Yeah, works perfectly. Okay. Sorry to the people of OnePlus there. I jumped to conclusions. So yeah, that's an awesome feature. That's the sort of thing I would use a lot. You know, for example, for Gmail, for YouTube app, for anything that you've got sensitive information, I would lock the app so that if someone does get access to your phone, they can't get access to that information, that data. It would be good as well if perhaps you could add a different pattern for apps or something. That'd be a cool feature as well. And yeah, I mean, as I said, there's a lot of customization options in it, but it is kind of hard because they've integrated it so well with Android. It's hard to know which ones are custom or not. You really have to kind of delve deep. But I really love the idea of all the gestures. I love the way that it's a light skin. It isn't overbearing. You're not getting all these apps and widgets and all these things thrown at you. There's nothing there. As I showed you, there's 2 apps there and you can remove them. The shelf is gone now. I'm just left with the default apps and the apps that I've installed. And yeah, it's really good. You saw there as well, you can close, like if you open a few things, you can clear all using that symbol. So yeah, as I said at the beginning, I haven't really delved deep into the OxygenOS, but my first impressions are that I like this skin. You're practically getting a Nexus phone, and with the regular updates, I would say that, you know, is the OnePlus 5 the best phone in the market just now? Perhaps not. You know, maybe it isn't as good as some other options out there, but I would say, you know, if you forget about features and just focus on software, I would say that OxygenOS seems very good. And I really do like the way that they're updating the software, and I like the way that they're not throwing lots of things at you and saying this is the way you do it. You know, the way that Samsung does it is they throw in lots of health apps and all these other apps and you can't remove them. As you saw, HTC does it a tiny bit just with a couple of apps, but they've just kept it clean and they're updating the software too. So for that, they should be commended. Thanks for watching, guys. If you get any questions about this, please let me know. And I hope you've enjoyed this quick introduction to OxygenOS. Till next time, take care.